For over 2 months now, classrooms in public primary schools across the Federal Capital Territory have remained empty. A strike action by primary school teachers under the Nigerian Union of Teachers has stalled academic activities, raising concerns that pupils may miss out on the entire third term.
Beyond federal primary schools, teachers in unity schools across the FCT have also protested unpaid wages. We're now joined by News Central correspondent Sumayya Abubakar, who has been following these developments closely and will shed more light on the situation. I mean, Sumayya, thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central. It's quite shocking that we're just talking about this after 2 months.
3 months.
After 3 months, I beg your pardon. What are the grievances of these teachers, and why has this dragged on for so long?
Well, good morning, Benga. Good morning, Olive. Thank you for having me. First of all, when this thing came up, a teacher reached out to me and I got confused. The first thing I told them was, I thought you people called off the strike. And they said that was a long time ago. They called it off around the month of April. And there was a promise by the 6 local government chairman telling them that they were going to pay. And these are a lot of demands, by the way. Before we even go into why, these people are frustrated, yes, they're planning on strike at the moment, but there's been a lot of demands. The first demand by these teachers is that they have not implemented the 70,000 naira new minimum wage, and there is arrears for 9 months now. When this came to fore with a lot of concerns, the minister of the FCT, Sumayya, called them and bailed these area councils out because they said there was not enough money to pay these teachers. And I'm just telling you about one of these demands. And he gave them 4.1 billion naira to settle this debt. But then there was nothing done about it. And then these people went out to the front of the National Assembly. That was in the month of April to protest. So the Senate called out the 6 area council. They came in and they were asked what they did with that 4.1 billion. And the excuse they gave was it was for sick. Now, Benga, I don't know if you know anything called signatory that 4.1 billion naira could be used for. And the Senate said, okay, if that's how you want to play it, then we want to see an audit of how you spent this money. And then for that month of April, LEA primary school teachers were paid that, 70,000 naira minimum wage, because they wanted, of course, to have a proof that this was how we spent some of the money. And then for the month of May, they revert back to the old price. Now, like I said, this is one of the demands. So they have about 9-month arrears to pay for that 70,000 new minimum wage. There's also another demand of the 40% peculiar allowance implementation and arrears. Now, this was done, of course, during the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, and it is yet to be paid. So they owe months of arrears on that one. There's about 25% and 30% salary increments implementation. This also was done during the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, when there was increments in salary by percentage, 25% and 35%, because of the economic hardship. These people still owe the arrears of that. Now, other people in perhaps states or at the federal level were paid, but then the LEA, talking about the local education authority, did not get any of that. There is also the 35,000 naira wage award for 6 months. Now, this, of course, we knew was implemented during the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he came into office. And then there was the talking about the fuel subsidy removal, and he decided to, award this 6 months salary, that's 35,000. These workers never got that. That's the teachers. We also have annual increments. That's talking about grade level and the steps. There's promotion arrears. Now, people continued writing exams. That's these teachers to get promotion, but then no implementation of the increment of the salary. There's an upgrade of teachers underemployment since 2018. These people got employed in 2018, and I think they were paid for just few times, but then for some people are complaining of 2 years, 3 years without payment of salaries at all. Or an upgrade, rather. There was no upgrade on that part. And also the health insurance scheme. At a time where the NHIA are, bragging, saying that they've had a lot of coverage on the NHIS, this local education authority are saying they do not have, NHIS at all. And these are their demands, and none has been answered yet.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know where to start from with these demands. It's heartbreaking that we're still talking about implementation of 70,000 naira minimum wage in June 2025. There was a report about the very dark man, Martin Zose, who took the protest to the streets, and I think he, I don't have the details. I don't know if you have details about him actually teaching the pupils, going out and teaching them himself, and sort of taking the protest to the minister of the FCT.
Yes, we are aware of that. Now, one of the teachers I was able to talk with said they've made all efforts to reach very dark man, of course, considering at least the social media carries more news. We know how independent journalism, is pushing forward. So one of their major concern was that this local government chairman, talking about the 6 area councils, were not saying anything. There was a push from the teachers saying, we want the people to, we want the government to at least, since we fought for local government autonomy and nothing has been done, then perhaps these schools should be taken away from them. But then the local governments are fighting for that. They still want to have a stronghold on, the NEA education, but they are not satisfying these teachers. So these teachers reached out to Very Dark Man through his lawyer, DG, and he was able to come through for them, which when he made his own inquiries and deep research, he realized what was going on. And it happens that, Olive, that it was like an attempt to keep this whole thing hush-hush, because people are not even aware of these demands. People are not even aware that this strike was happening. So Very Dark Man took it up, of course, and came out to protest. And now we missed it because it was just a short time. And we know, of course, for his own security reasons, he did not really disclose at the time. So by the time we got there, they had already left the minister's office, talking about the front of the office of the minister of the FCT, considering they feel perhaps he could hear their demand more. So yes, that was done. And teachers appreciated that. It just brought a spotlight to the entire situation of how deep this situation is. So at a time where there is this, a lot of bragging rights, not only by this administration on the federal level, but even the Minister of Education saying we've done a lot, but then education is at the back of this whole situation, and it's not getting anything that it deserves. Tertiary, of course, there's a lot of improvement on that level, but the primary education is really dire, and according to the teachers, of course, they say that they're sitting time bomb.
And the primary education is very important because it's the foundation, and everything you build on a faulty foundation is bound to collapse. And just looking at the demands that you rolled out earlier, they're quite reasonable and sensible demands. And we've seen that the FCT minister in the past released 4.1 billion naira. There's been some efforts towards addressing this, but who is responsible for all of this, and what's the latest with the local government officials that went to the Senate to explain what they did with the money and all of that? Has anyone been arrested for misappropriation of funds? How do we get these students back to their classrooms? That's the most important issue we should be dealing with here as a matter of emergency.
Indeed. The teachers are calling, saying that this should be a state of emergency at this point. First of all, this Senate just told them they need to go back and bring audits. So the Senate, from their own end, lawmakers did not follow up on this. And people that I would say are, of course, are culpable of this act of not even listening or sitting down with these people to talk about their demands would be the AMAC chairman, the Abuja chairman, Kwali area council chairman, Gwagwalada area council chairman, Kuje and Buhari. Now, this is, of course, the 6 area councils chairman in the FCT. According to the teachers, they said only Buhari area council chairman paid for the month of May. The 70,000 minimum wage. So for Buhari area council teachers, they've gotten 2 months of the new minimum wage, but of course they still have arrears. But then the funny thing is that this local government chairman promised they were going to pay the new minimum wage, which they only paid for the month of April, and then revert back to the old price of the old salary, which they paid in the month of May. And like I said, there has been efforts to reach out these people. They are not saying anything. Now, I was able to reach out to the spokesman of the chairman of AMAC, that is Kingsley Madaki. He's SA Media, to the AMAC chairman. And what he told me at that time, now this was on Tuesday, of course, before I filed in this report, which I had been following, but we could not even wait for the teachers' demand, which has gone for so long. And what they said, what he told me in his own words is, the chairman are busy because there's APC primaries that happened on Wednesday, yesterday. So they are really into this and they don't really have time to grant interviews. Now, this is, of course, I didn't buy it as a reason because I'd been following up on that like for almost a week before we got to that time. And I told him, but is that a priority at a time where teachers are demanding? I mean, we're talking about the future leaders that are demanding for their rights, and they've been out of school for 3 months. And he said, no, you know how this politics is, in his own words again. So basically that was it. And then afterwards, of course, I continued to try to reach out and he stopped picking my call. So basically these teachers are saying that these area councils need to be held accountable, and the people that are supposed to hold them accountable are quiet. While, of course, they've seen the efforts of the Minister of the FCT, Sumayya, they still feel like there is no accountability, on the part of the federal government at all levels, talking about the president, the minister, and, of course, the legislative.
I mean, that must be really painful for them to experience, especially because there's been a lot of launches and, a lot of celebration happening in the FCT in the past. This month, actually, there's been lots of celebrations with infrastructure being commissioned, lots of commissioning happening. So it might feel in some sense like, is there any priority being placed to our welfare and to these children's education? We'll take a reaction of the children, the ones who are impacted by this, the ones who have to stay at home and lose out completely on the term. Look at that.
Very heartbreaking.
Bring us back to school. 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 Bring us back to school.
I mean, very heartbreaking, just hearing those students protesting and crying about going back to school.
In a country that, complains about being one of the countries with the highest numbers of out-of-school children, we're talking over 20 million out-of-school children. And then we keep seeing this. Again, goes to show the parity placed on education. Let's also talk about the Unity schools and the updates with that. We do hear that the teachers are protesting as well, that, there was supposed to be a day 2 protest, but then there was an explanation that made them halt their protest. Can you bring us up to speed with that?
Yes, in the discovery of what was happening in the early, of course, the Federal Unity School, which is a group of, teachers in secondary schools in the FCT, at federal government, of course, the federal level, were the one that came out to protest, the first day. Now, this case, of course, goes back to 2018. Now, I was opportune to have a one-on-one discussion with them yesterday, which was the day 2 of the intended protest that was supposed to take up to 3 days to end today. But one of the things they made mention of is that in 2018, group of them, about over 1,000 of them, were employed by the federal government. And they were supposed to start getting paid salaries. So for some of them, they started getting salaries. And for others, for that long, they were never paid. And we're talking about people with the least amount of not paid salary is from 2 years, 8 months, 3 years. I'm talking about not being paid at all. And the first question I asked them was, why did you take this long to come out to protest? They said they could not help it, that the last protest happened in 2021. And I said, you continued going back to school? They said, yes, they had to go back to school. They had to continue to go and teach because of how passionate they are, about what they do. But then, Olive, the problem is that for that long, I'm talking about, let's even forget the 2018 when they were employed, because some of them were paid salaries until, say, late 2020, early 2021. Nothing has been done. Now, this is at the federal level. These are the secondary school teachers. These are their major concern. They are not getting paid salaries at all. They said that they have made demands. They've spoken to, that was 2021, to the Senate. And of course, you know how it all goes. It's the blame game. This one will say, it's not me, it's the other. So this time around, they came out and took the protest to the Ministry of Finance, where everyone says, oh, we have made approval, but it is from the Ministry of Finance that have not been paid. Now, what they are even asking for is not start payment of salary. Now, they said we need arrears. So we're talking about arrears of 3 years of salaries, 4 years of salaries. According to them, in that 2021, about 800 people started getting paid, but then the rest of them did not. And then along the way, the payments halted again. So yesterday, the budgetary, I think the head of budget in the ministry came out, and he explained to them that the budget department is not part of the federal government. He said that it is an agency on its own, but then on his own part, he has already cleared all this payment for them, and he has forwarded it to the next desk that is supposed to take care of these things. And he's telling them that he's promising that he will do the follow-up. Now, of course, there was no timeline. And I did pointed that out to them, like, how would you agree to things like this when there is no certain timeline for you to come and get, your money? And they said, half bread is better than none. And I said, no, the full bread would be better. But one of them said, well, when there is no bakery, what do you do? Honestly, that got me really emotional. So these teachers are losing, their zeal, their enthusiasm about teaching. And one of the primary school teachers I spoke with said, let's be honest, there are a group of us that are thinking, if this is not done, then we're thinking of just, leaving the teaching profession. So this is the mindset of the teachers currently.
Wow. We're still battling with number of out-of-school children, and then we're now adding to that the potential of a shortage of teachers. Do you by any chance, I don't know if you were able to speak with the parents and what the parents are saying, how this has impacted on them as well?
Yes, I did. I spoke to a lot of parents. Now, one of them pointed out, which a lot of them anyways, said the economy is not favorable to them. And of course, at this time, that for parents to take their kids to a public school is because that is what they can afford. A lot of teachers, a lot of parents are able to, or some parents rather, are able to take their kids to a private school, but then majority of parents are just putting their kids in public schools. So there are major concern about what the parents are feeling, how the kids are faring on the streets. One of the parents in particular said, while the elites and the politicians are not really bothered about their kids going back, staying at home, he said the implication of this is that these children are going to get influenced by the streets. And when they are influenced, they're not just going to be a problem to them, but they're also going to be a problem to the society, and they're going to influence the kids of these politicians and the rich people, because no matter what, there is still a bit of mingling in the society. So his concern is that one parent said his children have been at home, about 5 of them that are in primary school at home. And he said there was a time he called them and asked them about school, and they've started, forgetting school activities. They because school comes with a lot of practice, and these children are just at home. And he made mention of the fact that he is a tailor, so he does not have money. He wasn't able to be educated, but then he wants to educate his kids. So how does he homeschool his own kids when he doesn't know what to teach them? Another parent, cried out and said a lot is going on. They cannot afford to take their kids to private school, but the government need to help them. So honestly, at all levels, when I was talking to parents, there was one shared emotion, which is frustration. And they, kept calling on the government to do the needful so that their kids can go back to school and not get influenced by, the street at a time where there's a lot happening in the street, and your child could easily get swayed by, bad behavior and influence. So, yeah, that's the concern of the parent.
All right. Thank you, Sumayya. This all is, nothing short of heartbreaking to discuss this morning. Much later today, we'll be having a representative from the Nigerian Union of Teachers in the Abuja chapter to expand this. And also, we'll be having a representative from the Unity schools as well, so we can get a bigger picture, or, hear directly from those who have been impacted. You've done a great job covering this, and thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.